Hi, Dr. Regan Robertson, CCO of Productive Dentist Academy here, and I have a question for you. Are you finding it hard to get your team aligned to your vision, but you know you deserve growth just like everybody else? That's why we've created the PDA Productivity Workshop. For nearly 20 years, PDA workshops have helped dentists just like you align their teams, get control of scheduling, and create productive practices that they love walking into every day. Just imagine how you will feel when you know your schedule is productive, your systems are humming, and your team is aligned to your vision. It's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. We can help. The demand for these workshops is so high that our March 2023 workshop is completely sold out. But there are still seats available for the only remaining workshop in September 2023. Visit productivedentist.com/workshop. That's productivedentist.com/workshop to secure your seats now.
It's not just about being a green practice. It's about, kind of looking at everything. Are you making an improvement in the lives of your patients, in the lives of your co-workers, in your community, local and worldwide, and in the environment? Are you just kind of being a force for good, doing something that's, not only profitable, but beneficial?
Welcome to the Everyday Practices Podcast. I'm Regan Robertson, and my co-host, Dr. Chad Johnson, and I are on a mission to share the stories of everyday dentists who generate extraordinary results using practical, proven methods you can take right into your own dental practice. If you're ready to elevate patient care and produce results that are anything but ordinary, buckle up and listen in. Welcome to another episode of Everyday Practices Dental Podcast. I am your host, Regan Robertson, joined by my faithful co-host, Dr. Chad Johnson. Chad, how you doing today?
Good, faithful as long as I'm here. I've left you high and dry in the last couple months a couple of times, so my apologies. But today I'm here, and today we're also here with special guest Rebekah Browder. Rebekah, how you doing, Doc?
I'm doing fantastic. Very wonderful. Yourself?
Excellent. I'm doing well too. Okay. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Well, Dr. Rebekah and I met at the February workshop. And Regan, have you done any work, with Dr. Browder yet, or, interacted with her in person?
I have not, but I do understand that we probably will be getting to work together in the very near future. So I'm excited. I've done some website crawling. I've taken a look and tried to virtually get to know Dr. Browder.
That's right.
Yeah. So today I'm really excited for this conversation for our listeners, Rebekah, because we are gathering together to talk about legacy and doing good in the world. Two topics that are, I think if you're in healthcare in general, those two are very important things. But for you, even more so, I think, than others. So I'm wondering, Rebekah, you are a dentist practicing out of Connecticut. Is that right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yay.
Talk to me about legacy, and what is legacy? What does that mean to you? What does that word mean to you?
I think legacy is a big word. For me, I simplify it, I dumb it down. It just means leaving behind some sort of positive energy. So, it might not be tangible to everybody. It might not be lingering, but I have come and I have left, a little lingering positivity behind me.
That feels good. What does it mean to you to let's talk about your positivity element of that and leaving that? Why is it important for you to be leaving a positive impact on others?
So for me, I think it's just really, really, I think it dates back to when I was in college, and Chad's heard this before, but when I was in college, I went to NYU, and it was during 9/11. And so that was a big part of my formative years, just being there for that. And it affected everybody, obviously, worldwide and in different ways. And I continued to live down in the southern tip of Manhattan in the financial district. So through the cleanup process, through the building of the memorial, it was always just part of my life and would affect me in different ways. And one of the things that I found kind of long term was that as I would cross through the memorial, just to do something as simple as grocery shopping, I would always walk by the names of all of the people that had passed away and at the World Trade Centers. And there are 11 different women, but there are some women's names where it says so-and-so and their unborn child. And at the time I was trying to get pregnant, and it just went all the way to my soul. And so it was something that I thought, like, you know what? Enough is enough. I can't just sit around with a mediocre life. I have this gift. I have days. As simple as that. I have days, I have time, I have something to do. So every day for me just transformed into a gift. And I all of a sudden became this super idealist, striving for not perfection, but just improvement and fulfillment. And so on a daily basis, I was working in advertising, didn't like it. So I had an epiphany and went to dental school. And, everything that I do has to be just no compromise to a certain degree. Like, I'm realistic, I'm not a perfectionist, but if somebody says, this is as good as it's going to get, I don't take that. That's not good enough for me. And for every day that I'm here, it's my job, I feel, to take this time that I've had and somehow live it up for everybody that can't, and then improve the lives of everybody that's around me. So my job every day is to each person I meet, just in some tiny little way, even if it's just a smile or holding the door open or just a thank you when, they do something for me, try to make it a little bit better for everybody.
Mm.
And it makes me feel good. So, it's totally selfish in nature. It gives me a really deep sense of fulfillment and happiness. And that's, I guess, why I do it, which is selfish, I guess.
There was a lot there. I want to back up. You said epiphany, and
Yes.
I think that's a good spot because I think of it, that being like the pinnacle or the rooftop peak or something like that, where it's like, wait a second, it's good to teeter there, and not take for granted that I understand what you meant. So when you said that you noticed that you wanted excellence and that you wanted to push yourself to strive to better, and then you had an epiphany in then dental school, it's like, wait a second, what was the epiphany?
Well, I was, as I said, I was working in advertising. And so I was putting in some pretty hefty hours and a lot of time away from my family and not a lot of personal time. And I was just feeling toxic. And I thought, I have to make a change. I need something that is going to be good for me, good for the world, something that's going to matter and make my days matter. And I had I had gotten engaged, and I was going to be leaving my job and transferring back to Manhattan. And so I was using up my insurance, my health insurance. So I was going down the list, doing the doctor thing, doing the optometrist, and doing the dentist. And so I went into a dental appointment, and something about that particular day struck me. And I had this thought, well, we were working together because I'd always had a background in science and really loved science, but never thought about dentistry, despite the extreme amount of time I spent in the dentist chair as a kid. And I just looked up at this guy who was probably about my age and had clearly been out the night before and was not in great shape and, just seemed to be kind of coasting along. And I thought, I could do that.
I could do it better. Yeah.
I could do that. Yeah. He's just chilling. I could do that. I could do it better. And so I called my husband, fiance at the time when I left. And I said, I've had an epiphany, to which he replied his comment like, oh God, what is it? And so I said, I think I'm going to go into healthcare. I think I'm going to go and become a dentist. And so then I did. I quit my job, I think the next week, applied for post-bac and went back to post-bac 2 months later. And then luckily, after post-bac and 4 years of dental school and a residency, I really love it. So I'm happy with the decision.
Wow. You've got this competitive achiever drive.
Oh, yeah. So I'm the youngest of 4 kids. I have 3 older brothers who are very, 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 they're always protecting me. She can't go to New York. She can't do this. She can't. And not that they don't have confidence in me, but they're very protective. And so from a young age, I was like,
are you the baby?
Sorry, I am the baby.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
I can picture it with the dimples. So listeners, you can't see Rebekah. She is, I wouldn't say she's an adorable professional. She is a hardcore professional, but I see the dimple and I can just picture 3 older brothers being around you and surrounding you, being like, protective in nature for sure.
Very much so. Yeah. So I definitely, the moment somebody says you can't is when my inner nature kicks in and says, well, watch me. So I like that.
You can't send me $100,000 as a gift.
Yeah, that's you know what? You found it. That's it.
Shoot.
It was out there somewhere.
I find, in working with, or I should say, being surrounded with fellow competitive achievers, and I love the rebel spirit and drive in that. I can definitely personally relate to that. Oh, you say that I can't? Well, let me show you that I can.
Yeah.
We get to a point, especially as leaders, where we can't do everything. It really is impossible to be an A+ with everything. And as a dentist, you wear multiple hats. So you get to be the clinician and you get to be a business owner. Was there anything that surprised you, in getting the degree, becoming a dentist, that surprised you about going into business ownership?
Everything,
Okay.
top to tail. But I think one of the things that I had to come to grips with was that I am not a great multitasker, and that's okay. Because I think, we are in this day and age constantly feeling like we have to be doing 6 things at once. We've got to be, on social media. We've got to be tending to our patients. We've got to be growing our business. We've got to be doing our finances. We have to be tending to our children, all of these things. And we have to be doing it all at the same time. And I can't do that. I don't know if it's after my kids. I don't know if I once could, but at this point in my life, I can't. And so what I have figured out, what is my talent, is that I may not be able to multitask, but when I'm doing something, I'm doing it with a laser focus. So now my team knows that if they come in and they tell me something, if I'm not there in 30 seconds, it's because I've totally forgot about it because I am in it. And my patients know that when I'm with them 100%. So if they have to wait 5 minutes more, and we try not to keep anybody waiting, but if they have to wait 5 minutes more, they know it's okay because once I get in there, I'm 100% theirs. And my kids have figured it out too, that when mommy's gone, she's gone. But when she's home, everything else is on the back burner and I'm 100% a mom. And that works a little bit better for me than trying to multitask. That was really helpful. And then for everything else, QPDA.
Well, let's talk about the QPDA part. What roadblocks were you hitting where you realized that being singularly focused, which, by the way, I'm a huge advocate for. I agree completely. As a mother, as someone who's deeply involved in business, you can't do everything at once. Were there some areas in your practice where you hit that roadblock and said, I need to have some support? I can't, even if I dedicate full focus, maybe this isn't the best use of my time, or I don't have the answers.
Exactly. I think it's not the best use of my time because in the past I bought my practice and closed on it the month before we closed for COVID. And so it was tough and scary at first, but I took those 2 months and I was like, awesome. I've got 2 months of no patients. I am going to do IT. I'm going to get finance in order. I'm going to do all of these things. And at the end of 2 months, when we started seeing patients again, I realized that I had done a very small number of things on that big to-do list because, like many of us, I'm a perfectionist. I overanalyze, I research everything. And so if I was going to do it, I needed to do it well, and I needed to do it from the ground up. And that's where it started to become problematic because, when you're in it and you're seeing patients, you don't have all of this excess time as much as we would like to. You have everything else that you're doing. And so for 2 years, a year and a half, I did the best that I could. And I stayed above water and I made it through and I put out the fires, and that was really great. But as it seemed like it was time for COVID to start to, fingers crossed, wind down, I thought, all right, this is my year where I'm going to stop being so reactive and start being a little bit more proactive and starting to get some systems in place and starting to get some things. And I thought, you know what? Instead of me suffering through this and doing trial by error and learning from my own mistakes, let me just bring in the professionals. And so I had that epiphany on a Tuesday, and by Friday I had a consult and I had signed the following day, I think.
Look at you getting things done. That's awesome.
It takes me a while to get there, but once I've made the decision.
Right.
So you, Rebekah, have done something that only, I believe, 3 other dental practices have done in the United States. So speaking of competitive achiever, combining that with your true deep heart of doing good and leaving a positive impact, I found out that you have your business is set up as a B, Bravo, right? B Corp, yes. Is that correct? I've never heard of this before. Can you tell, if you're one of 4 dental practices in the United States, what does this mean?
Yeah. So the others, they're the two of the others, I need to be specific about this. Two of the others have multiple locations. So I just need to put that little asterisk on there.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now that you've heard of B Corp, you're going to start seeing it everywhere. It's on a lot of packaging. So like Tom's of Maine is a B Corp corporation. Patagonia is a B Corp corporation, Athleta, Ben and Jerry's. So I had heard of it, and one of my patients and I were having a discussion one day, and I said, "Oh, what's your new job?" And she said, "I'm a consultant for companies that want to become B Corp." And I said, "Oh, get out of town! I've been thinking about that." And so we started a conversation and started looking at it. And I thought, this is a really good exercise. I know it's going to be long. I know it's going to be arduous. And I know I'm not necessarily going to be successful at it because a lot of people that go through this program aren't. But I thought, let me, as a new business owner, go down this journey, and it's going to help me look at the different aspects of my practice and figure out, am I really walking the walk, talking the talk? Am I really, performing the way that I want to? And after looking at it, it turns out, no, just because I was a nice person didn't mean that I qualified for being a B Corp. So it was a great challenge to look through and say, okay, we need to commit 2% of our revenue is going to go to charities. And that's not like, I thought, okay, we could do 2% of profits, but they were like, no.
2% net?
2% net. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So that's a lot, but it's great. So what we start to do is and it works with the whole company, because now not only do my employees get paid well and have a good, working living wage and good work-life balance and everything, but also each month, one of them gets to pick a charity of their choice. And then we donate to that. And so it gets everybody on that fulfillment train that I was talking about before. And our patients really love it. And, we're able to be as eco-friendly as we can, being a dental practice, but it's not just about being a green practice. It's about, kind of looking at everything. Are you making an improvement in the lives of your patients, in the lives of your co-workers, in your community, local and worldwide, and in the environment? Are you just kind of being a force for good, doing something that's, not only profitable, but beneficial to the world? And so that's a nice thing.
How often is this audited? I mean, is this an annual thing that they review, or?
Every 3 years. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So were there any sort of stumbling blocks or roadblocks that you hit along the way to becoming a B Corp? For anybody else who's hearing that and going, well, maybe that's what I want to do.
Yeah. So there were a couple of things. A lot of it, we are at a disadvantage in the medical field because so much of our stuff has to be single use, or, we can't cut down on a lot of things. They have to be FDA approved. They have to be meeting certain guidelines. So we can't, and there's just not a lot of green focused dental product companies out there. So because we couldn't really focus as much as we would want to on the environment, yes, we have a recycling program. We've partnered with TerraCycle to recycle, toothbrushes. We do our internal recycling, but we couldn't be as eco-focused as we wanted to. So that had to transition to seeing how we really impacted our community, patients, and world in other ways. And so a lot of that became our workers' quality of life and our charity. And so if in small practices, we're kind of used to, and I think people are used to, getting an hourly rate and maybe not having as many benefits as you would at a corporation. So maybe they don't have a 401k, maybe they don't have health benefits. And so that was something where we had to look at what we were paying everybody, and everybody got raises. They were excited about that.
Did you use like a cost of living calculator? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So MIT has a living wage calculator where you can look up based on if they're married, single, children, no children, and the zip code or county. You can look it up and see what the appropriate living wage would be. So I'm happy to say that we not only met that, but surpassed that with everybody. And so that was really, that feels good to know that they're doing well, especially now too, because when everybody else was having difficulty with employees kind of looking for other opportunities and going other places. Ours were all quite happy because they were making a good wage already. And in addition to that, they have these other aspects of fulfillment. So going and looking at that stuff is a little difficult because we didn't have health. We don't have health insurance benefits. So instead, I do a contribution to them because it's difficult to get a great health plan as a small business. So that was a bit of a hiccup. And then finding becoming at peace and okay with the fact that my salary was going to be a bit lower because I was going to be more charitable and my employees were going to be making more. So instead of really squeezing blood from the stone, I was having to lower my salary a little bit and know that I was working hard towards something. And I wasn't necessarily seeing the financial benefit initially, but knowing that I was growing towards something. And now that we've settled into it, I'm happy to say I'm living comfortably.
Yeah.
That's great. Have you noticed, has your team retention been well? Has it made an impact that way for you?
Yeah. We don't lose anybody. In fact, we have, our latest hires brought friends. So,
that says a lot.
Yeah. We have a lot of personality and a lot of love here.
Wow.
Very cool.
So what does the future hold? You've inspired me. I think I can tell you already, you've inspired our listeners for this. What does the future hold for you? The next 5 years or 10 years?
I don't know. I'm sure I'll have another epiphany. I'm doing a leadership program now through Glidewell, which has been amazing. I've only had one weekend, but there are 24 other women in it, and I get to see them a weekend a month for the next 5 months. Mm-hmm. And we get executive coaches to develop our leadership skills and things like that, which is going to be really valuable. But I can tell you, just going in the first weekend and listening to everybody else's stories, it's been crazy amounts of inspiration. So I'm looking forward to see what sort of like partnerships and ideas are generated there, and just all the new stuff that we'll learn. But hopefully, 5 years from now, I will have spread the joy of B Corp practice ownership, and everybody else will be feeling as good and happy at the end of the day as I do most days.
Well, cool. We kind of went full term talking about, how you got involved into dentistry. And 20 years ago, even 20 plus, talking about how 9/11 impacted you and how that led you to dentistry, and then how you have been taking charge of your office and really setting the bar for best practices. And I hope that the audience that listens to this, and what's cool is not everyone's going to listen to this week. A good amount of people might, but there's going to be, a few that might listen to this a couple of years from now, and that they'll hear excellence. And whatever that standard of excellence is, even 3 years from now, the point won't be obsolete, that you're still pressing to that. We have you back on, and you're 3 years from now going to be pressing that envelope for what excellence is. And for that, just like Pascal Monnier, that's what I appreciate about him, is he sees the beauty and excellence. So you get the Chad Johnson Pascal Monnier Award of the day for showing and demonstrating excellence. So thank you on behalf of dentistry and all things that are PDA.
My day was good. Now it's great. I appreciate that. Taking that gold star home.
Gold star. Well,
thank you, Rebekah, for being on the show with us and sharing all of your knowledge. Chad, I give testament to you. Let's have Rebekah on again in another 2 years.
That's right.
Play catch up and see how far you've come. I'm very excited.
Pressure's on.
To all the listeners, thank you very much for coming on. And we appreciate you listening to Dr. Rebekah Browder from near New York City in Connecticut. Mm-hmm. Dr. Browder, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Everyday Practices Podcast. Chad and I are here every week thanks to our community of listeners just like you, and we'd love your help. It would mean the world if you can help spread the word by sharing this episode with a fellow dentist and leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify. Do you have an extraordinary story you'd like to share, or feedback on how we can make this podcast even more awesome? Drop us an email at podcast@productivedentist.com. And don't forget to check out our other podcasts from Productive Dentist Academy at productivedentist.com/podcasts. See you next week.